Welcome to another EJ, the Realm Reviewer video. So today I want to talk about Age of Sigmar. I'm a big fan of the Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40k settings. I'm still relatively new to those settings, though I have read like 5 or 6, maybe even more Warhammer 40k books, and I've started to read Age of Sigmar books, and I've really liked them. I think they're a lot of fun. I mean, you know what you're getting into when you read a 40k or Age of Sigmar book. I guess some people wouldn't consider them highbrow or something. I don't know, but I think they can have great twists. I think the settings are really cool. I think both settings, 40k and Sigmar, Age of Sigmar, are top tier like settings for fantasy and sci-fi novels. And it's kind of good in a way. Like, it can be bad that basically what drives the narrative is whatever makes a cool model, but that can also be good in a way, because if it's cool, it's going to exist in one of these universes, and that's what you read these for. And I've, searched YouTube trying to see content about Age of Sigmar, and most of the stuff I find is a year old, 2 years old, 4 years old. There's not that many people talking about the novels and the lore. There's, the Honest Wargamer who makes great content, but he's mostly focused on the tabletop game. And there are people making Age of Sigmar lore, don't get me wrong, but it's not a lot. Like, I've been trying to watch Age of Sigmar lore content, and it's really hard to find anything that was made semi-recently and on the new books coming out. So I'm hoping I can fill that gap a little bit. Now, that said, I am starting with the Realm Gate Wars. Why? I know a lot of content has been made about the Realm Gate Wars already. I just want to, this is going to be a short video where I give my opinion on it, and I want to document my journey through Age of Sigmar as I learn about it. I'm not going to claim to be an expert yet, but I'm excited by the idea of reading these books. I've already found a bunch of books that I like in Age of Sigmar, and I'm going to give my opinions. I do have the Realm Gate Wars omnibuses, or whatever you want to call them, the volume 1 and volume 2 in the paperback. Now, these books can be kind of expensive. I like owning physical copies of books, which is why I decided to get these, but you can always go get it in the, Black Library app. That's pretty new, and you get the first volume for $22. And if you look at how much content is in the first volume, I think that's a fair price. But yeah, I do like I like having these huge like compendium like books here to be able to just read through it. And as you can see, this is how far I am into it. And like I said, I know I'm talking about the Realm Gate Wars today, but I've already started reading some of the newer stuff that has come out, and like some of the later stuff in the timeline for Age of Sigmar. And I'm going to talk about that stuff as well. So I know I'm starting off early, but just, stick with me on this channel. You'll get my opinions, reviews, and stuff of the newer Age of Sigmar stuff, as well as we go, towards the end times. I know it's going to be, probably 2027, we're going to get a new setting or like a reboot of the setting, but I'll hopefully be there to cover that as well. So anyway, that's my spiel at the beginning of this. Coffee, hold on. So let's get into my non-spoiler review. So the Warhammer fantasy world ended. This was the old world. It blew up, basically. I think it was Nagash. And all of this, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I'm here to learn. That's my journey here. I'm learning this stuff as I go. I think it was this god Nagash, was like kind of the god of death, that brought around the end times to the old world, which I know this, a lot of fans were not happy about that when that happened, because people really liked the old world. A lot of people loved that setting, and they were basically doing away with it to put in this setting, which is a lot more similar to 40k. So a lot of people didn't like that, I know. Then in 2015, Games Workshop dropped The Gates of Azyr by Chris Wright. This novella was the ultimate litmus test for the brand new setting, Age of Sigmar. And Chris Wright has written some great stuff in 40k as well. I think he's a great writer, so I think it was really smart of them to, start off with him writing the first story. There is some crossover between writers of 40k and Sigmar. So I'm not going to go too much into the lore in this video, just because I feel like the Realm Gate Wars is something that is known pretty well at this point if you're an Age of Sigmar fan, but bear with me as I give like a brief overview. It's essentially Sigmar sending out the Stormcast Eternals, which are basically fantasy space marines, to retake the realms through opening up and accessing each new realm through the realm gates. And the people that live in these realms don't really seem to be aware, at least as far as I've gotten so far in the story. Like, I know the enemies in this have no idea what the realm gate is. They don't know what's going on. They don't know why the Stormcasts show up. And we get the perspective from some humans, a group of humans trying to survive in, Akshi or whatever it is, which is one of the realms. There's 8 realms. Here's an example of blood reavers that were chasing the mortal humans. These are the miniatures. These things are grotesque. At the same time, the Gourd Tide is there, which is led by Cole. This is what the Gourd Tide looks like. Here is Korgos Cole. Now, this is like the antithesis or the opposite of Vandus Hammerhand, where Vandus Hammerhand leads the Stormcast Eternals. Cole leads the Gourd Tide, which is, the bad guys trying to take down the little mortals. And here's another image of Cole. Crazy. This stuff is cool. The design, the people that do the art direction and stuff for Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40k are awesome. I think it's great the way Chris Wright gives us like the perspective of mortals and the perspective of one of the Stormcast Eternals, who's essentially like a god compared to the mortals. I mean, they're huge. They're armored in, celestial armor and weapons and powered by lightning magic. And the Gates of Azyr is an absolute adrenaline shot. It's fairly short, but it's fast paced. And it's a very cinematic introduction of the Stormcast Eternals. So I thought it was really cool. It took me a little bit to get through the first part where it's just the humans trying to survive. And again, this is no spoiler, so I won't go into it too much. There's a lot of lead up to when the action finally gets here, and it's so much, and there's such an anticipation. It was almost too long until the crap hit the fan and things started going crazy. But I stuck with it, and I really liked it, and I think it had a good payoff. So if you love massive battle scenes, like heavy metal aesthetics, mythic fantasy and, things like that, you're going to enjoy this. I will say this though, like if you're looking for like really deep character development in like some of the Stormcast Eternals, like Vandus, for example, you're not going to really get that in this book. I know there are other books that do go deeper into the backgrounds and stuff of the Stormcast Eternals, and you do get the main Stormcast Eternal that you follow in this is Vandus, and you do get some like backstory about him and like basically what drives him. But again, it's not super deep when it comes to the character development here. It's mostly about this massive battle, and I think the story like successfully sets the stakes for the universe and really leaves you wanting more. My overall review of the first novella of the Realm Gate Wars, the Gates of Azyr, I give it a 4 out of 5. I think I give it a 4 just because it's an introduction to the new realms. It's an introduction to, two major factions. And I think it was told quite well through the eyes of gods and through the eyes of mortals. So yeah, I recommend picking this up and reading it if you want to get into Age of Sigmar. I think it's a great starting point. It's the starting point. And you're not going to be disappointed. And, I'm still reading through the Realm Gate Wars, and I have a lot more to go, but I'm going to read the whole thing. Because like I said, I want to go on this journey and learn about the Age of Sigmar setting and hopefully, kind of fill a gap on YouTube and talk about the lore. And I'm going to buy the models and I'm going to paint some models and I'll show them on here as well. So tell me what you want to see on this channel. What books should I read to review and talk about and get into the lore? I want to learn along with, you can watch my journey learning about Age of Sigmar. And please like and subscribe. This is a small channel that I'm just starting. I have a lot more subscribers on my other channel. So any support is just so appreciated here. And just thank you so much for watching. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below.